high drama. How merry are we this season that's going on right now with all the mayhem? At the New Victory is my favorite circus company, Circus Oz, with Merry Mayhem. It is whimsically elegant, comically defying gravity, and strength in unexpected people. This is not your usual circus acts, as Deborah Batten, Claire Bindoff, Jared Dewey, Sharon Grenard, Spencer Grace Inwood, Leopold Pentland, Olivia Porter, and Angelique Ross put their own unique spin on things. The acts they do put on are solo trapeze, group acro, chairs, balloon flossing, group knockabout, juggle, which is also very sleight of hand, duo acro, straps, bells, special Roberta, flying trapeze, and comic archery segments. I have adored this troupe ever since I saw them performing at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in 1988, where they did this whole thing upside down, high above the stage, eating at a cafe. They are truly amazing. This gets a beyond happy face.
Jamie Allen's Amaze delivers on what it promises to amaze. Sleight of hand card tricks, wholesome childhood stories, 80s nostalgia, and spirited audience participation culminate in a 2-hour experience. The personal narrative is very touching. The show's emotional centerpiece, built around a beloved Fisher-Price toy Allan received as a child, anchors his lifelong dream of becoming a magician. The storytelling is sharp, it's engaging, and the pacing never falters. In fact, not only does the show avoid dragging, he even fills every moment right up until the curtain call with genuine showmanship and surprising, memorable tricks, which I'm sure Eva will want to share some moments from. I also like seeing the stage crew integrated into the performance, made into characters. It was a charming touch that really added to Allan's warmth and personality. It's clear he loves what he does. He really commands the space effortlessly, making the 199-seat theater feel like his own living room. I recommend the show for anybody who enjoys magic or just wants an easy watch.
Yes, this was just, I love magic. And we should mention the featured artists were Natalia Love and the co-creators, which is Jamie Allen and Tommy Bond. And it was directed by Jonathan Goodwin. And Richard Young was the illusion director. And Damian Stanton was the set designer who loaded it with all sorts of 80s nostalgia, stuff and all that. But I found the most interesting thing, because, magic is blended with mind tricks and all that sort of thing, is in the beginning, we're supposed to write down our favorite childhood game. And me and Benjamin came at completely separate times. And I remember thinking, no, it's not Play-Doh. It's not Play-Doh. What's it called? What's it called? It was like bothering me. And then it kind of like light bulb, silly putty. I put down silly putty. And I found out later, Benjamin, who is generations younger than me, also put silly putty. So that was just this nice kind of unrelated magic-y thing that happened to us. So you feel the magic, even if you don't get a chance to go up on stage or anything. This just was, and the funny thing is, I just saw Rob Lake's magic show at the same time, like the day before. So it's interesting you have these sort of similar magic show things going on, but it came out so differently here because he's blending his life with it and how he became a magician and everything that inspired him and his wonderful parents. And it was just touching. It was a story and a magic show, so you get two for the bang of one. So I'm definitely giving this a happy face.
And I also give it a happy face.
This is Claudia Terry's review of Gotta Dance, which was conceived by Nikki Fiat Atkins for the York Theatre Company. It is a delightful review that celebrates the American musical. It includes some elegant and humorous scenes from Hollywood's golden age, such as Singing in the Rain, White Christmas, more modern pieces from such musicals as Pippin, West Side Story, and A Chorus Line, even a little rock and roll from Contact, which shows the range of styles this show encompasses. The company expertly and seamlessly goes from one number and style to the next. Some of my favorites, well, Claudia's favorites, were Mr. Monotone, Teach Me How to Shimmy, and Manson Trio. These highlight the skill with which this group sang and danced in diverse styles, creating an entertaining evening. They filled the stage with joy, yearning, and humor. The dancing by all was strong and expressive. There were some excellent voices as well. Jessica Lee Golden and Joss Leproto were particularly memorable. The design was also well done. The projections by Brian C. Staton were particularly good. They allowed for clear, smooth transitions from one scene to the next. They help set the place and the mood. They even provide helpful contextualization. And as always, with dance, good costume design is essential. Marlene Olsenham did not disappoint. Quite an achievement with all the different styles and periods that were included. If you love American musicals, this is for you. And you can bring your non musical loving friends because they will probably enjoy it as well. Happy face she gives it.
And I loved it. And I'm not a huge musical theater fan. I always enjoy when I see musical theater, but I tend to go to plays. And I just love this. I loved the backdrops. They changed it for every number, but also they gave the artist or the composer and the year. So it helped me as someone that is not that as familiar with musical theater. And I don't know which one I just loved best. I liked the lady who sang Sweet Georgia Brown. I loved that. I felt like the entire time I was just smiling. In fact, several times I stopped and I could feel myself smiling just ear to ear. Just I so enjoyed it. So I'm giving it a happy face. I loved it. And it's running until December the 28th. There are lots of shows to see and plenty of time to see it through the holidays.
Here we are with Stephen Cole, whose newest venture is Camelton. And I'm wondering how you're going to get Ethel Merman and Mary Martin into this one.
Ah, it's so good to see you. So yeah, no, that's a good question because Ethel Merman obviously is a big part of my life. I knew her. I wrote stories about her. I wrote a musical called Merman's Apprentice. I wrote a book called Mary and Ethel and Mikey Who. But this time, this is the story of how David Crane and I were sent an email that said, "We want you write musical. How much?" 20 years ago and wound up in Dubai and Qatar and Bratislava and London. And we wrote a musical for the Emir of Qatar, which ran at the Aspire Sports Stadium in Doha, Qatar. So this story I've been kind of dining out on forever, and it became the musical The Road to Qatar. But then I started doing it as a one-man show, and little by little it grew and grew. And now, when once we found the title Camelton, which meant that I could sell $1,000 tickets, ha ha ha, they're only 15, of course. I decided it was time to go back to my performing career because I've been a writer and I've had 14 produced musicals. But this is, I wrote it, of course, and I sing. I get to sing again. I'm singing like 5 songs and tell this hilarious story of what happened in the 9 months that we were hired to write this musical. And so that's what Camelton is. And besides that, I wrote a book about the whole thing because the show is a stand-up comedy routine, really, and whatever's funny works. But the book is the whole truth and the gospel truth, and it tells how we got the email, how we went there and did the whole show, and then also how it turned into The Road to Qatar, which actually had its own bumpy road to off Broadway where it was successful at the York Theater. But now I'm doing this, and the reason I'm doing this in January, only for 2 performances, 9th and 10th of January, is to do a nice little New York tryout because my goal is to take it to the Edinburgh Festival in August. And if I'm going to go back to performing, I'm going to go back to performing. So that's basically where it is. I mention Ethel in the show, I'm pretty sure. How could I not? And I sing a lot like her, so it works.
So how is this different from Road to Qatar then?
Well, that was a full-fledged musical with real actors playing the roles and an original score. And this is my personal story of how it all happened. So it's a little more true than The Road to Guitar. Because when you write a musical about something true, you start to change it and figure out what works fictionally. And we changed all the names, of course, to protect us. And so it is different, and it's just me playing all the characters that really happened in real life. And I only get to sing one song from The Road to Guitar, the title song, and then at the end of the show we do Aspire, which it was the name of the show we wrote in the Middle East, and also we used a little piece of that in The Road to Guitar. But it's a more personal and I think even funnier version of the story because it's more true. And the truth is funny.
Is this a one-person musical?
This is a one person me. This is it. Yes. This is my one man band. It's me and some projections and some film. We actually found film footage of the real curtain call from the Middle East. And when you see that, and I know you're going to come see it, it's spectacular to see about 200 people on the stage and singing this song, including David Crane and myself, who were dragged out for the curtain calls. And we've got lots and lots of photos. So it's about my life in a way. It starts out with, everything I've done in 3 minutes and then gets me up to that 20 years ago when I took that first camel ride, my first and last camel ride. So that's what it is, a one man, I would call it a one man play with songs because there's only 5 songs. So it's not a full musical, but it's a little over an hour, 65 minutes because we wrote it that way, or I did, so that I could do it in Edinburgh. When you do the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, everything has to come in at 1 hour and then you're in and out. So that's the rule there. So I thought if I write a 90-minute show, I'm going to have to cut it. And I don't want to cut it. So I really kind of compressed everything.
You know what you could do is you could have this as a curtain raiser to Rosie Guitar.
It could, except a lot of it is repeated information. But we shall see. We shall see. It to me, it's a very big. It was a big dream and hurdle. I started thinking about this right in 2019, and we were going to do it in 2020, and then came the great toilet paper rush, where everybody couldn't get toilet paper, and we canceled the show. And for the last number of years. I've been thinking about how to do this again, and I brought back my director, Rick Polis, and he actually lives in Houston now. So we're doing a lot of stuff via Zoom, and I'm rehearsing on my own. And we decided, it's time. Before it's too late, I wanted to get back to performing because that's how I started at 14 years old and 15 and 16. I was an actor and a singer, and I did stock, and I did a lot of movies. And so we're going to show lots of that to lead up to how I got to that moment when the email showed up and said, we want you to write musical, which was insane. So yeah, so I thought before I get too old, it's time to do this one man show. And if I can do it once a day in Edinburgh for a month, boy, that's gonna mean I have stamina. And maybe I could tour it.
Actually did the Edinburgh Fringe Festival when I was an actress back in 1988 with
Wow.
out. So I guess when it's an original show, it's got to be an hour. But if it's not an original show, I guess because they've done like Cal Churchill's place, Top Girl. We did A.R. Gurney's The Dining Room. So
Right. Well, they send touring things in as well, but the actual Fringe Festival, you have to be an hour because you get your space and you're out of there within 20 minutes, and the next show is going to start. Luckily, my show, I mean, my costume, you're basically looking at my costume, except for one costume change I will make at the very end of the show. And the set is all projections and video, so there's not much to it, and it makes it easy, and it's really just me, and we're doing it at this theater down on 29th Street on a fourth floor of a building which only has 50 seats, which is perfect because that's all I want. I don't, it's not a 1,000 seat show. It's intimate. I want to really tell the story in an intimate, funny way. And so it'll work. It'll work for the festival. And after I do 1 hour, I'll take some oxygen and go to sleep.
And then you could do the fringe show Circus because I have a friend of mine, Valerie David. She did Pink Hulk and now she's got baggage, road to baggage or something like that. And she's going, there's all over Denmark and Scotland and Canada and Mexico. I mean, so you could do a world tour with this.
That would be wonderful. And the great thing about Edinburgh, which is one of the great festivals in the world, is that it's kind of a supermarket. People come shopping there. The producers come. So, I could certainly see this doing well in London and even come back to New York. It really just, it just depends. Let's see how well we're received and how funny I can be, because it is kind of like doing a stand-up act with some songs. And so I'm very excited about it because it kind of culminates my writing and my performing all into one little package. And I've got the energy now, and I thought, well, better do it quick. Better do it quick.
Wait till January. What a great way to start the new year.
I think so too. Maybe the weather will be a little warmer, but we'll be in a room and I will get a lot of heat going. And I'm singing two songs from my show, Gross Singers. I'm singing from The Road to Guitar. I'm singing a brand new song that we wrote for this piece because I had to come up with what is the real moral of this story when somebody sends you an email and you wind up going to the Middle East 4 years after 9/11, which we did. And the moral of the story is the power of yes. When you say yes to something. So David Crane and I wrote a brand new song, and that's kind of the finale of the show before we come back and sing the big song Aspire from Aspire. But so I'm excited about singing a brand new song that I just wrote. Usually I write songs and other people get to sing them, but this is pretty wonderful for me. So I can't wait for you to be there, Eva. Bring your friends.
Douglas Lyons, Beau the Musical, with music by Ethan De Pakchar and Douglas Lyons and lyrics by Douglas Lyons, is about Ace Baker growing up with Raven, a single mom with no mention of her family until a fateful phone call.
Through memory and music, Ace looks back on being bullied at school, keeping his sexuality a secret, and experiencing his first confusing, tender crush. It's painful, honest, and deeply human. When Ace reconnects with his estranged grandfather Beau, a hard-living musician with an open heart, he finally finds a place where he can speak freely, ask the hard questions, and let the music say what he can't. Together they discover how truth, love, and art can be passed down even when words fail. Told through live folk country songs played by the cast themselves, Beau is a funny, soulful, and moving story about coming out, coming of age, and learning to live out loud even when it feels risky. Go see Beau the Musical running through January 4th at St. Luke's Theater because sometimes the stories that shape us are the ones we're still learning to sing.
And he also has this wonderful middle school friend, Daphne, who becomes a lifelong friend. She comes to his rescue. And I also has to deal with his mom's boyfriend, Larry, who is super annoying to him as he constantly calling him fella. And in flashbacks, we get to meet Dennis, a friend of Beau. What did Beau do to get his wife Leanne to take Raven and leave and never look back in the first place? This was a down-home, upbeat musical with a great downbeat. And that band that did everything, it was not gimmicky like John Doyle. In this one, it made sense. This dealt with so many important issues, but in a very entertaining way, with some real kicks and some nice touches that could tug at your heartstrings while they were plucking strings. If I could sing, I would be singing their praises. This gets a major happy face from me.
It's a major happy face plus from me.
Pulitzer Prize finalist and Obie-winning playwright Rajiv Joseph is a master of disguise in intimate, understated situations. His 2009 play, Gruesome Playground Injuries, has come to New York's Lucille Lortel Theater after many regional productions. Starting at age 8, the characters Kayleen and Doug meet each other in the infirmary with more or less accidental injuries. Perhaps they, more than the audience, have accepted scrapes, blood, and throwing up as a part of life. and this leads to surprisingly authentic and vulnerable conversations. Even when only one character wants to talk or can talk at all, there's a sense that a relationship of deep caring is evolving. We see how much people fight against each other while also fighting for the privilege of being in each other's lives. I hope you see and enjoy this high-profile show featuring the talents of Carrie Young, seen in Pearly Victorious, and Nicholas Braun from Succession, directed by Neil Pepe, artistic director of the Atlantic Theater Company. This is indeed a dream cast made up of actors with stellar timing. Ernest Maldonado's set, Two Hospital Beds, sets the tone for this play made up of these scenes. And thank you, Brian Strumwasser, for the makeup, including the fake blood.
Yes, this is how two scarred, scared people try to connect through the years. Scenes jump in time as they meet in hospital rooms as Doug is extremely accident prone and suffers the gruesome injuries in the title. Kayleen can't get past her stomach issues. This way we get snippets of information, but not in order. So Kayleen might mention something that happened in the past, and a few scenes later it is revealed what exactly happened. Instead of being confusing, it adds depth and poignancy as we begin to understand their relationship better. Can these two unique characters heal each other? Carrie Young is adorable as a little girl who bravely wants to touch Doug's wound, and the grown-up trying to face tough family issues that are alluded to. Nicholas Braun is so vulnerable as he keeps finding himself in hurtful situations. Being very squeamish, certain scenes were too much for me, but I love these characters so much that I was rooting for them from the start. A greenish happy face plus.
I'll give this a happy face from me.
I have to admit to the audience at large that I am a Waiting for Godot virgin. I have never seen a Samuel Beckett play. I've never seen this Samuel Beckett play. I knew the basic premise of the play, but not the particulars in terms of the way the set was supposed to look or anything like that. But I am a very big John Wick fan, and I wanted to see Keanu Reeves. I've also never seen the Bill and Ted movies, so I had no idea. I mean, I knew that he and Alex Winter have known each other for decades, but that really didn't interest me. It was Keanu all the way. Going into it with knowing absolutely nothing about it was interesting because to me it all looked fine. The sets looked fine, the costumes looked fine. And I don't know the director, Jamie Lloyd. I don't think I've ever seen anything else he's ever done. The play itself I found to be very interesting. It's very existential and very bleak, with occasionally these like sort of sparks of hope. It's basically these two tramps, Estragon and Vladimir, waiting for Godot. And I always thought it was Godot, but they insist it's Godot, which sort of tips you off a little. And they interact with each other. They fight. They profess their undying love because their relationship goes back decades, obviously. The action is broken up by the arrival of Brandon Durden as Pazzo and Michael Patrick Thornton as Lucky. They show up in both acts, and that's really their appearances were very disturbing to me. Yeah. So I won't say much about them, but they were weird. And then there's this sort of little boy who shows up who may or may not be a messenger from Godot. For me, the high point of the play was watching these two guys interact with each other. There is an oblique reference to a Bill and Ted moment, which I didn't get because I've never seen the movies, but it was explained to me later. I think the play is worth seeing just for the way these two men act together. It's really like unlike anything I've ever seen in a play before, because it is so rare to have people who are actually friends in reality play friends in a play. So I would recommend this very much if you like Keanu, if you like Bill and Ted, if you like Alex Winter. I gave it a happy face.
Okay. I mean, I've seen a gazillion of Godots. I'm sorry. I'm not going to say Godot because stupid director ruined it. I mean, my God, this play was done without a tree. I mean, imagine Godot without a tree. No, it's this giant sewer pipe. And I don't know if you realize it, but historically, Beckett wrote this. This is supposed to be for vaudevillians. It's supposed to be a comedy. The original one of the originals was Bert Lahr because he wanted it to be funny. But it's like, but like you say, it's oblique, but there's like hope and there's funniness in it. And so Lucky, you never hear Lucky speak, and this guy is such a bully and boss, and he's like puts on these rich airs, and I really like the fact that Alex and Keanu are such great friends because they have great chemistry. And for the first time, it's like, I mean, I hated this production because of Jamie Lloyd. I mean, he is just the most disgusting director around. He should be banned from the theater. He doesn't care about the text. He doesn't care about anything but himself and showing how brilliant he is by taking away the bloody tree and giving us a giant sewer pipe and calling it Godot instead of Godot. It's like he knows how to pronounce it better than Samuel Beckett. Ugh. Anyway, so yeah, because I actually enjoyed watching the interchange between these two and forgot about how much I hate this play because I was enjoying watching these two. They finally did bring out the vaudevillian comedy aspects of it, so it was less painful than it usually is. But there's nothing to be done about Jamie Lloyd. And I thought Barton J. Derriere and Michael Patrick Thornton did a very good job with interrupting. The little boy was absolutely adorable. So, you know, if you want to see this done differently, go. I'm giving it a I'll give it a happy face minus, but I will give it an extremely unhappy, angry face for the detestable, disgusting Jamie Lloyd. Please stay away from my shows. Murdoch, the final interview, takes place on a mythical talk show called At the Moment with Chodron Trapur interviewing 94-year-old Rupert Murdoch. We learn the good, the bad, and the ugly of little Rupert trying to get his newspaper dad to see him in a tree, to his accumulation of one newspaper and turning it into a media empire. Frankenstein references abound over the monster Murdoch created and became. After all, he is responsible for all the variations of Fox News, which makes it ironic that he claims to follow his mom's advice to always tell the truth. The best thing about this was Jamie Jackson's performance. It was more mesmerizing than the material provided by an unnamed source. At one point, Murdoch is covered in shit, and I'm very squeamish, and it never got wiped off, so it made it hard to watch. I can see why the writer wanted to remain unnamed. It also got a bit tedious at the end, and I found myself trying hard to focus on the words and not just watching Jackson's incredible transformations at lightning speed. Maybe I've seen too many Murdoch variations on a theme, but I just couldn't get into another. However, that is a jaded critic talking. My friend absolutely loved it. It is worth it to go just for Jamie Jackson's performance. Mixed face plus. Happy face for my friend, but mixed face for me. And now for theater listings. Our next show will be January 10th. And closing January 4th is 44 the musical at DR2, which I just saw last night. So it was the funniest thing I ever saw. Mitch McConnell and Ted Cruz were the villains. And Henry Kane, who I did not know, was, so read up about him if you don't know him, because he figures prominently. And Joe Biden kept popping in and out, doing the most craziest, wildest, funniest thing. He had me on the floor. It's about Barack presidency, bid, winning, and all the things that go along with it. So you're laughing. There's even a moment to have a tear. It's just so wonderful and delightful. So during this holiday season, go see it. I'll put up my review on Facebook once I write it. And also at PAC, you've got perennial favorite, A Christmas Carol, but this time with Michael Cerveris. And at Theater for the New City, you have Story of Sal B. and Barbran, Amount Fantasia, and Beauty Bites. And closing January 11th is Messy White Gaze, The Duke on 42nd Street, and a lovely Jewish play called Night Stories at the Wild Project. And at 54 Below, Charles Kirsch's Backstage Babble Live is back with January 3rd at 7 p.m. live and live streamed. And Matthew Morrison has his Rhythms and Revelations going on till January 8th. And go check out our favorites, Joe's Pub, 92NY, La Mama here. And Tony Marinelli went to SoHo Playhouse, where he saw Schlo Rice and Natasha Rowland's What If They Ate the Baby? It's playing until December 31st, which is a bracing delight for lovers of physical theater and absurdist comedy. This politically incisive work peers into America's darker corners with eerie camp and hypnotic flair. And I saw their Letters to LBJ last year, and it was just brilliant. So another fun holiday thing to do. So have a wonderful holiday and a wonderful new year.